So 1 week ago, one whole week ago, I asked you, the people, to send me your boldest takes on NASCAR in 2025. It could be anything from a driver prediction, a track prediction, a championship prediction, you name it. Bold prediction for 2025, and then I would come back a week later and read some of them and rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. And oh boy, did you guys deliver, because we got some spicy ones in here. Now, I'm not going to be able to get through every one of them. And also, some of you put like 10 predictions in one comment, so we can't get to every one, but I'll get to as many as I can. But yes, the NASCAR season starts back up this week. Tonight, Daytona 500 qualifying. We will talk about it as soon as it's over. Tomorrow night, the Daytona duels. We'll talk about those. Friday, truck. Saturday, Xfinity. Sunday, the Daytona 500. So that'll be exciting. That will be fun. We have a fantasy NASCAR league. If you want to join it, I'll put that link in the description. It's for free. It's for fun. It's to have a good time. We talk about it every Monday after each race. Now let's get to these bold predictions. Number 1 from @Edward Clark. And if I pronounce your name wrong, guys, I'm sorry. Once again, I apologize. My mistake. You can yell at me. Joey Logano runs the Indianapolis 500 with Team Penske. Now, this is actually, the thought of it is kind of exciting because we've seen Kyle Larson most recently run the Indianapolis 500. That car was run through Arrow McLaren with sponsorship from team owner Rick Hendrick. But Team Penske obviously has an IndyCar team. They've won multiple. In fact, they've won at least the last 2 with Joseph Newgarden. And Joey Logano is our most recent champion. He's statistically the best driver, or at least one of the best drivers that's driving right now as an active driver, and he's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. I think it would be great to see him in the Indianapolis 500, but this year's Indianapolis 500, I think that's a little bold because, what is it? It's February 12th, and the race is at the end of May. I feel like we would have heard an announcement by now, so that Logano could test an IndyCar, get used to it, figure things out. So 9.8 out of 10. It's a fun idea. I'd love to see it, but for 2025, yeah, that's probably a no. Number 2 from @Gary3074. This channel hits 50K subs. That would be nice. I have no idea. We'll go with a 10 out of 10. This one from Jack Likes Trackhouse, and Jack likes Trackhouse, and Jack likes bold predictions as well. He put a lot, and some of you, like, you put things about guys going to the catch fence so violent in some of these bold predictions. Like, oof, oh my goodness, people, like, we don't want to see anyone go on the catch fence. Anyways, the one that I picked out for Jack here, Cole Custer will win multiple races either on pace or strategy or both. Yeah, that's a hot one. That's no disrespect to Haas factory team, but technically this is a first-year team. It's a different team than Stewart Haas Racing. There's different pieces. I don't know quite where they stand with Ford. It's a single-car operation, so all the focus is on the 41 car versus previously 4 separate cars, but at the same time, less people. I personally don't see them making the playoffs, so therefore I don't see them winning a single race. But to say they're going to win multiple, that's a hot take. I could see in today's NASCAR, the next-gen car, everything's so close, and the super speedways, anything can happen. I could see him getting 1, and that enough would be a shock, I would say, like that Kentucky race all those years ago. But to get multiple, that's like a 9.9. God, you guys are off with some heaters here. We got a 9.8 on the Joey Logano. In fact, I'm saying that I'm going to lower the Cole Custer one to a 9.5. I think that's a little bit more realistic than Logano in the Indianapolis 500. So we'll go a 9.5, actually. @Raging RAC3RYT894. Yeah, that's a guess there. But one of his predictions was Kyle Larson wins 7 races. And so in the next-gen era, every single season we've seen a car win 5 or more races. And every single one of those seasons, it's been a Hendrick car. 2022, Elliott wins 5 races. 2023, Byron wins 6. 2024, Larson won 6, I think. So betting that it's going to be a Hendrick guy, that's a good bet. But 7 wins, we have not seen anyone win 7 races in the next gen era in terms of a single season. So that's a little bit bolder. But I would argue at some point we're bound to see someone just obliterate the field for the majority of the season, pick up all these wins, go on a historic run. So Kyle Larson being your choice, that definitely lowers the bar in terms of, the boldness kind of scale of things. But 7 races is still a lot. It's not insane, but it's still, I would say, a long shot. 7.5. It's bold, but it's not insane. If you're going to bet on someone to win 7 or more races, I think Kyle Larson would be the majority of people's picks. At Chris Croft 77 says, SVG sweeps the road courses. Okay. So we have 6 road courses this season. That says that Shane Van Gisbergen will get 6 wins this season. Yeah, that's pretty bold. Now, I think the expectation is that SVG is going to win at least 1. Could be as many as, I would say, 2 or 3. But as you saw in the Xfinity series last year, SVG was the fastest driver on the road courses in that series, but he only won 3 of the 6, I think they had. I think it's the same number. Things go wrong. Mechanical failures, you get spun on a late race restart, you get bumped out of the way. Things happen. So to say he's going to win them all, that's extremely bold. If you were to say he wins 4 or 5, that's still bold, but a little bit more realistic in terms of, 6 straight road course wins. That's too much for me. 9.7. 9.7. I think it's a little bit more bold than Custer winning multiple races. Scorpius GMD had multiple bold predictions, but I picked this one. Daniel Suarez will win in Mexico. I picked this one because I said in my preseason predictions, this is one I really want to see. I did not end up picking it, but I really want to see it. I think the majority of NASCAR fans, people in NASCAR, want to see it. Everyone seems to like Daniel Suarez. He's a solid driver. He's from Mexico. This is essentially his home race, or it is his home race, and he's going to be obviously very popular there. He's going to have a great chance. He's a really good road racer, and everyone wants to see him win. But there's a lot of good talent on the road courses. His teammate SVG, Ross Chastain, his other teammate's not a pushover. Kyle Larson, William Byron, Chase Elliott have all won multiple road courses. Christopher Bell. So I don't think it's as bold as you may think, but he's not going to be the favorite. He may not even be top 5 favorites, but it's realistic, actually, I would say. If things go right, if he shows up and puts his best foot forward, I think it's possible. So I'm going to actually go pretty low here. I'm going to go 3.5 on this because it's not insanely bold like some of the other ones we've talked about, but he won't be the favorite. So it's a fun story, though. At No Tires Just Gas 3610 says Zane Smith wins a race and makes the playoffs. Now, of course, you win the race, you make the playoffs. So he's saying here, Zane Smith's going to win the race or a race in the first 26 races. So you did the and here. And if you do an and, that more complicates it. That kind of bumps it up a bit because let's say Zane Smith goes winless in the first 26, but then he goes out and he wins. What's the playoff opener? Darlington. Then you got the wins a race, but you didn't get in the playoffs, so wrong. But if you had just said wins a race, that lowers your odds a little bit. But anyways, long story short, Zane Smith winning a race in the regular season, realistically, I think it would be a super speedway. Front Row's got a great super speedway program. Zane Smith, a good driver. I'm curious, and it's a little bit of an unknown how Front Row's going to be at all the other types of tracks. So that we'll probably know by April where Front Row stands, mid-April, late April. But it's still pretty bold, but we've seen kind of surprise winners, shock winners, however you want to put it. So Zane Smith winning at Daytona this upcoming weekend, Talladega in April, Atlanta in June, wherever it may be, it's not as insane as you might think, and you're picking a Front Row car that's a tier 1 car. So I don't think it's as bold as, some of the other ones we talked about, but I still don't think it'll happen. So like a 6 out of 10, I guess. Then Unusuarian Normal 7838. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. Joey Logano misses the playoffs but wins at Talladega late in the year. So once again, we kind of have a double prediction for one thing to happen. So Joey Logano missing the playoffs. Now, I said in the preseason prediction video, preview video, whatever you want to call it, Joey Logano the last 2 seasons, the regular seasons have not gone well for Joey Logano. I think they have 2 wins total. The best they've been in points is like 9th. I think 2023 they were 9th or 10th. 2024 they were 15th. The playoffs, though, they really heat up. They start winning more races. They advance through the rounds, and they won the championship last year. So to say that he's going to win the race in the playoffs, to say that they're going to heat up in the playoffs, that's not an insane prediction. But to say he's going to miss the playoffs, that's still pretty bold. The only time in his Team Penske tenure, I think 2017 was the only time Logano missed the playoffs. So that's bold. And then adding the Talladega factor, like he's got to win a race in the playoffs and it has to be Talladega. Adding that specificity bumps it up to an 8. If you took the Talladega part out, I'd give it like a 7. But it's an 8 with the Talladega part. John Murray, 587. We got an Xfinity Series prediction in here. Ryan Sieg will win a race. And Ryan Sieg had speed last year. Now, I'm curious what that team, where they stand with Ford, especially, with Stewart-Haas turning into Haas Factory. It's still essentially the same operation on the Xfinity side, but I'm curious to see how that impacts Ryan Sieg and Ryan Sieg Racing. But I really don't know how to rate this one because obviously they had a lot of speed at intermediates last year. They got so close to winning at Texas. Super speedways, anything can happen, but you got Austin Hill in there who's so good at those tracks. So I'm going to go with a 5.5. I can see it, but I really don't know. Gold Guitar 123. Cody Ware wins the Daytona 500. Let me look up the odds real quick. So Cody Ware's 150 to 1. But Cody Ware at Daytona always finds a way to be there at the end, whether he's sneaking in a top 5 or a top 10 or a top 15. He finds a way to survive to the end. And as we know, at the end of these super speedways, if you survive to the end, you got a shot. It's still extremely bold. It would be maybe more shocking than Trevor Bayne's win. Statistically, I think that would be with the odds, but I'll go an 8.5 because I don't see it happening. But Cody Ware, once again, he could sneak up there in the top 10. I just don't think a win is in the cards, but you never know at Daytona. At Anthony Denny 1001 said Brown to win Chicago. I'm assuming he's talking about Will Brown, the Supercars driver. Now, this one's not as crazy as you think, but the first thing that's got to happen is that Will Brown has to be in a NASCAR Cup Series car at Chicago. Now, Supercars doesn't race that weekend, so that helps your case, and he's got a shot at coming over here. Obviously, we saw how well SVG did in his first street race over here, but everyone else has 3 more years of experience or 2 more years on experience now, so that helps pick up the pace a little bit in terms of how these guys are going to do on the street course. So it'll be a little bit more competitive than when SVG first got here, but if he's in a good car, if he's got good equipment, it's possible, but it's still pretty bold. I'll go an 8 out of 10. Marcus Villarreal, the biggest Christopher Bell fan on YouTube, says, first, I predict that Christopher Bell will win at the Daytona 500 and the championship in 2025 and win 6 races. So we've got Daytona 500, championship, and 6 races. Now, if you split those up, like if you said Bell to win the championship, that's not that bold of a take. He's one of the favorites. I'd give it like a 2 out of 10. If you were to say he wins 6 races, once again, that's a steep number. But I would say Bell would be one of the favorites to do that. Maybe like a 4, 5 out of 10, let's call it. Daytona 500. Bell at super speedways has not been great, but he hasn't been terrible. It's just, I can't think of him having much success there. So we'll stick in that 5 range for all 3. Marcus, you're saying all 3 because you said and. If you said or, we'd split those up. But you said and. So he has to win the 500 and the championship and 6 races. 10. All 3 of those things to happen, That's a 10. Now, winning the championship in 6 races, usually that would be like those two things go together. But as we know in this playoff system, you never know. At Steven Marvo 2620, we got another 10 here. SVG wins 5 intermediate tracks. Yeah, that's a 10 out of 10. Like, if you win 5 intermediate tracks, you're more than likely leading the points by like 300 points. That's probably a big number, but you're leading the points by a lot. You got the most points, you got the most laps led, you got the most wins, you got the most everything in every statistical category. You're putting together a historic season. I mean, look at the most recent historic seasons. When Kyle Larson won 10 races in 2021, just off the top of my head, the mile and a half, the intermediate tracks that he won at that season. He won at Texas, he won at Kansas, he won at Vegas, he won at Charlotte. He won at Nashville. So that's 5 alone right off the top of my head that he won in that single season. So at least, once again, I'm probably missing some, at least half of his wins were intermediate tracks. So for that to happen, you have to put together one of the most historic seasons in NASCAR history. And SVG has, 3, 4 intermediate tracks that he's run on in his Cup Series career. So yeah, no. That's a 10 out of 10. Absolute 10 out of 10 prediction. Bold prediction. I would be absolutely shocked. Arian 997. Zilisch wins on Cup debut at Coda. This is an interesting one because Connor Zilisch is a young prospect, a hot prospect, and he's got high expectations. He's a rookie in the Xfinity Series, as Arian Arlen, I think I read that wrong the first time, said he's making his Cup debut at Coda. Zilisch is a good road racer. We saw it at Watkins Glen last year in the Xfinity Series. Heck, we saw it at Coda last year in the Truck Series when he won the pole. But to say he's going to win a Cup Series race on debut, he's going to be in a competitive car at 19 years old, 18 years old. It's pretty bold, but it's not as insane as you might think. So let's go with a 7.5. It's still bold, but I'd say there's a slight bright light of legitimacy, of possibility. Gold Guitar 123 says, oh my goodness. Michael Waltrip will attempt the All-Star race. I would be shocked. 10 out of 10. No, nothing further. At Caden Sturgis Sports says, Logano misses the playoffs while both of his teammates make at least the round of 12. Once again, Caden, we got 2 of these things coming together. It's an and. I guess there's not technically an and in there. While both of is essentially the same thing. So both these things have to happen, which escalates it, which pushes it up. Like if we split them up and did their own thing. We talked about Logano missing the playoffs. If they put together a poor regular season together, they don't win a race, we could see it happen. But for both of his teammates to make the round of 12, okay, Blaney, he's got to be a heavy favorite to make the round of 12, so we won't even factor that in. If anything, that brings your rate down. But Cindric has 2 career wins. He's only made the playoffs twice in I think this is year 4 at Team Penske. So it's a little bit bold to say that Cindric will not only make the playoffs but advance. But if he does make the playoffs, that first round sets up really well for him. But then you add the Logano factor. It's not as insane as it seems when you say it out loud, but I'll go 7. Logano missing the playoffs is the biggest wild card in that. And this one's, I don't know how to rate this one, got to be honest. At Klaus NZ2220, Klaus Van Gisbergen wins the Nikolai Peacock NASCAR Fantasy League. I don't know how to rate this. I don't know what our fantasy league's going to be like. I don't know how to predict fantasy, so 5 out of 10, maybe. And then our last one. This is our last one. At Patty A. Atrum, at Rumdy Creations 134. Apologies, Patty. I predict that about halfway through the season, Jimmie Johnson throws his hands up in the air in despair and walks away from Legacy. That is such a specific. I don't know. That seems like a 10 out of 10. I don't think Jimmie Johnson would just quit, especially now that he's the majority owner. Yeah, I'm going to go with the 10 out of 10, but what a specific situation there. So thanks for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this new, I guess this will be once a year, every year segment where we make some bold predictions. We rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, and we will come back in November and see how horribly wrong some of you were. But oh my goodness. Some of you are violent in your bold predictions, so I'm concerned. Some of you made some insane predictions. I'm also concerned. But then again, who doesn't make insane predictions? So thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Tonight we got Daytona 500 qualifying.